Hey, ladies. Happy Friday. Today is Freedom Friday. Um, but I find myself a bit exacerbated, disappointed this week. Um, and honestly, it's all been due to social media and the stories that have come out this week. And I'm not going to do deep dives with regards to any of these stories because if you've been on social media, you probably know some of the things that have been happening. But I just feel like, my goodness, it's just been one thing after another this week. And I wanted to make some public statements with regards to several things that I'm seeing. Wanted to give you some warnings with regards to what I'm seeing, especially as upwardly mobile Black women. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk with regards to these hot topics that's on these internet streets. So before I do anything else, I'm going to ask you to like the video. If you're listening to the replay, definitely put a comment in the comment section so that YouTube can know that you are enjoying this content, even though tonight for me is not about enjoying this content. Tonight for me is just like me venting because I'm just at my wit's end. There's there's just a lot of, excuse my language, bullshit happening right now. I don't know if you feel it, but I definitely feel it. And this morning I just woke up and I was just like, this is crazy. We're living in craziness. We seem to be living in craziness with regards to social issues. We're living in craziness with regards to politics. I've been following the 2024 election, and all I hear is woke, 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 woke. But nobody's talking about the economy. Nobody's talking about how we can get more jobs, a better future. And then I'm seeing all of this other stuff with regards to conservatives are now hooked up with Andrew Tate, and DeSantis is trying to ruin Black history, I feel like it is. Um, and Pearl is getting mainstream media telling people that women shouldn't have the right to vote. And this Jason Aldean song comes out, and everybody's just at each other's throats. And I just feel like, you know what? I'm going to talk about some of the disappointments. And again, I will, my sharing of these things is literally going to be 20 minutes. And then you all can come up. I'm going to drop the link for you to talk from your point of view. So this is not my usual jovial self, and I apologize for that. So, hey, Selfish Love, good to see you. Hey, baby girl T, how you doing? Down to earth. This week was about hot mess. You are absolutely right. Hello, Flowing Water. Hello, Rose. Distraction tactics. You're absolutely right. You're right. They are definitely not talking about how AI are coming for a lot of jobs in UBI. Yes. Yes. I'm just disappointed. So I'm going to jump right in with regards to some of the things that I'm disappointed in. And again, my initial comments are literally going to be just a few minutes for everything. The first is Carly Russell. Carly Russell. Oh boy. Um, I'm sure all of you know what happened with regards to Carly Russell. So I'm not going to, go through all of this again. But now the police, of course, believes that she is lying. They had about her being abducted. They had her parents come out and do, an interview. This girl got national attention. Black women never get national attention for anything like this. This is a huge L for us. It's a huge L for us. And, based on my understanding of the press conference that the police had yesterday, they may be thinking about charging this girl, and I would not have a problem with that. I'm sorry. I can't believe this. And then I did a search. I said, how many Black women and girls go missing every year? 98,000. According to USA Today, 98,000 women and girls, Black women and girls, go missing every single year. And this girl just effed it up. And I'm disgusted with this. I'm disgusted with her. I'm disgusted with her parents and the way that her parents are acting about this. When we had the conversation, I think it was last week, earlier this week, about the girl in Dubai, and I said, no, the way that you handle it as a mom is you go and you put yourself on the mercy of the government to Dubai. The same thing should have happened with these parents saying, you know what, our daughter messed up. We're gonna get her some help, et cetera, et cetera. 98,000 Black girls and women go missing every year. And I'm just like, we never get national attention. I don't know why I'm crying. I never cry. We never get national attention. And the one time we do, it's a Jussie Smollett. So that means for the other 98,000 Black women and girls that go missing every single year, the next time something happens, people are going to look 5, 6, 7, 8 times before they lift a finger. I'm disappointed. I'm so disappointed and I'm so disgusted. I am. Then we got Tucker Carlson and Andrew Tate, this prick. I said it. I'm just disgusted right now. Because it's not just Tucker Carlson, it's Valuetainment, who's supposed to be all Patrick Bet David over at Valuetainment. If you all are familiar with his platform, he's all family values. And they're cozying up to Andrew Tate. You got other people. I'm not talking about journalists that come and challenge Andrew Tate. I'm talking about people who call themselves conservatives, who call themselves family values, who have daughters in their homes, and yet they're all cozied up with Andrew Tate so they can get some freaking likes and views. And they're saying, oh, he didn't really do it. He just talks a good game. Well, let's say he didn't really do it. Let's say he just talks a good game. Okay, then he's teaching that to other young men, and some young man is going to do it, even though I am going to, I don't want to get myself in legal trouble, but I got questions for Andrew Tate. So if you don't know, Tucker Carlson flew to Romania and did a 2.5-hour interview with Andrew Tate. So this is from Forbes magazine. They're talking about him. They give a good outline here of a timeline. Key facts: Tucker Carlson, former Fox host. He's trying to get likes and views for his Twitter show that apparently isn't doing so well. Did a 2.5-hour interview urging viewers to, quote, make up your own mind about Tate. Carlson had interviewed Tate as recently as August 2022 when Tate defended himself against charges from the Romanian investigation, and Carlson has called Tate, quote, really smart, praising his core message, which he considered to be respect yourself, act like you're worth something, and achieve something. That's not his core message, at least not from the clips that I'm hearing. That's not his core message. Then you got Elon Musk, according to this, describes Carlson's interview with him as, quote, interesting in a tweet reply. Tate, meanwhile, offered to train Musk in his potential cage fight against Mark Zuckerberg. Then Donald Trump. I know some of you ladies like Donald Trump, but apparently Donald Trump also supported Tate, calling his lengthy Romanian detention absolute insanity. Then Joe Rogan has also praised Tate as a quote, very smart guy, stating he believes that Tate is, quote, just playing the role of this boastful misogynist who smokes cigars and drives Lamborghinis. I don't think playing this role is very funny, Joe Rogan. In an effort to bring in eyeballs and money. Tate has also reportedly been linked to Alex Jones. Okay, and I get that. Far right commentator and conspiracy theorist Paul Joseph Watson has defended Tate as an authentic maverick to his millions of followers. And you got Breitbart here. I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted and I'm disappointed. We're supposed to be about family values. Family values. I feel like these people are full of bullshit. I know I'm cursing and I'm sorry. I just. You're right, Selfish Love Carlson is a fraud. He is. He always has to go to the dregs of society for his audience. It would be different if this were a Barbara Walters kind of thing where it was real journalism, but that's not what this is. These people are wealthy and they're rubbing shoulders with other wealthy people that are the scum of the earth. And then the next thing they want to do is talk about the Sound of Freedom movie, which we're going to talk about today, and child trafficking. People are crazy. They're absolutely crazy. Then the next thing, Florida, DeSantis, who was supposed to be the front runner of the presidential election, but a lot of people think that he's not going to make it. The interesting thing about DeSantis is that he is actually very good at putting policies through. If the guy was just a little bit more charismatic, he would have been the person that most likely would have been in the White House. And yet we're dealing with controversial guidelines for Black history curriculum. When this first came out about Florida, I wasn't too concerned. But the updates that I'm seeing are crazy. According to Time magazine, corrections made to coursework on Wednesday characterized skills enslaved people learned as potentially beneficial and added descriptions of the massacres of Black Americans. They are trying to make it seem like slavery was some sort of zippity doo dah experience. I'm disappointed. I'm so disappointed. I understood when he said, I don't want LGBTQ as part of Black history. I was okay with that. I understood when he even said, I don't want Black Lives Matter as part of Black history. I was okay with that. He talked about not wanting reparations to be a part of it. I was a little concerned, but okay. Because some of this stuff we need to be teaching in our homes. But you're right, Kay Shane. DeSantis is dangerous now. And if you all are living in Florida, so here's the thing, you got Florida and you got Texas. People, especially Black people, are moving in droves to Florida and Texas. You have no access to abortion if you need it. And now, if you live in Florida, your kid's going to go to school and you're going to have to unteach them stuff. Absolutely crazy. According to this, the board approved rules that double down on existing laws regarding bathroom and pronouns. So we knew that. Want to come here. Sorry. For high school students, the Board of Education will now require certain events like the 1920 Okochee massacre to be depicted in a specific way, in this case as a, quote, act of violence perpetrated against and by African Americans. So, in other words, our towns get destroyed and they're going to talk about, well, we did it first. The Orange County Regional History Center in Florida calls the massacre, quote, the largest incident of voting day violence in United States history after dozens of Black people were killed. The guidelines also have similar stipulations for lessons on the Tulsa Race Massacre and the Rosewood Race Massacre. So, in other words, the two big things that I understand from this story is number one, they want to say, well, yeah, Black people were enslaved, but they picked up some good skills too. And then the second thing is, well, yeah, the massacres happened, and yeah, we burned their towns down, but they did stuff too. I'm disappointed. And then people wonder why Black people, especially Black women, don't want to vote Republican. I am conservative. I am conservative, but I can't back this shit. Excuse my language. I'm just so upset. I'm so upset. This is absolute craziness. But this isn't all of the craziness that we have. So let me continue on with the craziness that I'm seeing. And I want to talk about child trafficking. Child trafficking, because you would think that child trafficking would not be something that is politicized. Well, there's this movie called The Sound of Freedom. I don't know if you all have heard of it. It is about child trafficking. And somehow this movie has been politicized between the right and the left. The right are all of a sudden like, we're going to go see Sounds of Freedom and, we're going to help these kids out of child trafficking. The left is trying to screw it up. And the left is writing hit pieces against the movie studio that came out about this. I don't understand why we can't seem to come together on something as simple as child trafficking and saying this is wrong. I'm going to show this, some of the trailer for the movie here, just in case you all don't know what Sound of Freedom is. This is part of the trail. I'm not going to play it all because they have a lot of music in it.
I don't think I can do this job, Tim. As soon as I lay down, all I see are those kids' faces. How long you been doing this? 12 years. How do you do it? It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's gonna pass the drug trade.
Señor Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? Quizá puedas ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
So the story is about, first of all, it's inspired by true events. This is a real guy, FBI agent, who was trying to stop child sex trafficking. And the individual story that they have in here is fictitious just because they want to drive it home, where he finds a son, he finds a brother, and then the young boy asks, well, will you go find my sister? So he goes and he tries to uncover this network of child sex traffickers. I'm disappointed because for some ungodly reason, this has become politicized between conservatives and liberals on social media when all of us should be getting together and saying, hey, you know what? Let's do something together in order to end this. And don't think it's lost on me that a lot of people are making a lot of money from this being an issue. But I thought that if anything, we could get together with regards to this. So then let's come here. Let's come here and listen to this damn Pearl. Because see, Pearl thinks that women shouldn't be able to vote. And it's not so much that she thinks this, is that she's getting mainstream media attention. And I know some of you may be thinking, well, Cherie, she's just some freak off to the side. Things like this start with people off to the side talking like this. And then they seep into mainstream media. And this Pearl woman has the ear of some of the top individuals in the Republican Party. 30, 40 years ago, you never would have thought that Roe would have been overturned, and yet it has been. I am seeing this as being the beginning of Handmaid's Tale. This is part of my warning for upwardly mobile Black women, especially if you have daughters. The other thing that I saw with regards to this before I played this is that there's a Black male conservative gentleman who was saying, you know what? I don't think that Pearl is correct with this, and she needs more maturity. She needs more lived experience. And this is a man who's been married for about 20 years to one woman, Black woman, raising his Black children, but he's a conservative guy, and he has, I think, 700,000 subscribers. And all throughout his comments were, you're wrong, Pearl is right, women shouldn't have the right to vote. And he's not a manosphere guy at all. He's just a straight conservative. I'm disappointed. And with this specific thing, I'm scared for the future. I'm in a way grateful I don't have children, much less girl children, because this chick is dangerous. Let's listen to what she has to say.
Flawed. I would argue a lot of your proposals, like taking the vote away from women, are deeply regressive. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to remove just from yourself the right to vote?
Well, what happened was I had the same view, right? Back when I started, I was like, why? I found out that only 5% of women wanted the right to vote. And I couldn't figure out, like,
I don't believe that study, that only 5% of women wanted the right to vote. Either they were coerced to saying they didn't want the right to vote or something else. This is a 26-year-old who has no lived experience. She also wants to take away your ability to have no-fault divorces, which Republicans are talking about as well. So that means your husband necessarily isn't beating up on you, but you are just unhappy. She wants you, this unmarried woman with no children, wants you to stay in an unhappy marriage. But let's continue listening to this no vote thing.
Why would women not? No, it's true. It's true.
At the time. Because they've been conditioned by men to think that they shouldn't have a vote.
I mean, that's what they say. But, I started reading their writings, right? And what I found out was that the reason a lot of women advocated for it was because they believed it was the beginning of the breakdown of the family. Before you became one in marriage, 85% of people were married. And, I hate to say it, but they were right. What has happened 100 years later?
But what's that got to do with them having the vote?
Well, it also goes back to responsibility. Again, men are 80 to 90% of the military. They run all of the infrastructures that make society run. So I just think if we want an equal say in society, then be equal. Do 50% of the hard jobs. Be 50.
Okay. I've seen a couple of people comment on this, but I have not heard anybody say, do 50% of the hard jobs. Great. Isn't motherhood hard? Since she first started talking about the family, one family, one vote. This is her whole thing that she's talking about. One family, one vote. But isn't being a mother the hardest job out there? Isn't raising a child the hardest job out there? She's just talking about being on oil rigs and joining the selective service. Are these men going to birth children? Are they going to change diapers? Are they going to teach children how to read and write and all of that a mother does? And I wouldn't be bringing this up except this girl is getting mainstream audiences now in the comment sections that I'm seeing from people who are not red pill. It's scary. It's scary. I'm seeing what I saw happen with Roe happening with this. I got a couple more things and then I will put the link in the chat. Actually, I only have I have one more story. The last story is this Jason Aldean thing. This Jason Aldean thing. Try that in a small town. Now, you all know how YouTube is. You can't play too much music at once. However, what this is it's a song about if you're trying to do criminal activity, you cannot get away with that in a small town because the people will rise up and won't let you, commit criminal activities. I actually live in a small town. I love it. I think that what this song does is it stokes a lot of fear in people. So this is going to be my one off-track thing with upwardly mobile Black women is don't be afraid to live in small towns. I have great neighbors, but this thing has turned political as well, and it's turned very nasty. It's turned very nasty. I'll play a little bit of it for you so you can see it, and then the rest of you will have, if you want to see it all, you'll have to go and search for it. But everybody's talking about this. And pay attention to the imagery as well in this.
Sucker punch somebody on the sidewalk, carjacking old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town.
Okay, everybody. I understood overall what he was trying to say in this song. I think it's bad optics. I think it's going to stoke more racial concerns, more racial fears. I know a lot of conservatives are saying, but it's not racial. He's not racial. He's not talking about Black people. He's talking about criminality, which I'm all for criminality. They're saying he's talking about Antifa. Okay. Again, as somebody who lives in a small town, I don't want upwardly mobile Black women to be scared to live in a small town. In fact, a lot of Black people live in rural America, but all of these things aren't good. So I put the link in the chat, in the comments section for everybody so you all can come up in the chat section. I need a break from social media. I'm going to come back on Sunday and do a session on tech with brown skin girls. We're going to talk about certificates versus degrees. So that'll be good. That'll be like in our core wheelhouse. But after that, I need at least a week off social media because this is, it's pulling at my spirit too much. I don't know how you ladies feel. It's, the word I just came up with is disappointing. I'm disappointed by so much. So Rana, hello.
Hi, good evening. How are you? Besides being disappointed.
That's it right now. I'm gonna go and probably have a glass of wine or something like that and just kind of decompress.
I mean, where it goes with what's going on in our country right now, I think the thing that we need to worry about is pretty much the protection of Black women because,
Hmm.
that girl, you know, I don't know if she has mental health issues or not. I came in late due to live stream, but I don't know if this girl have mental health issues. In one way, I'm gonna have compassion, but until the investigation is over.
Hmm.
But other than that, it's like with Pearl, she's very dangerous. And she says some crazy stuff that, I'm just shocked. So I mean, and she's one of those girls who dream to be a housewife, but she doesn't understand like back in those days in the 50s, women were abused and they were
Hmm.
beaten. And sometimes the men has full custody. It's going to sound like one of those very strict countries where the men has custody and you women have no rights to land, no rights to land, no rights to your bank account, no rights to work. I mean, and at this point, if our country, which it sounds like, it's giving me Hemmings tell us, well, if our country's slowly going down route, then we need to strategize and think about what we need to do quickly or sadly leave the United States. I mean, not
I
saying, but
agree.
I mean, if it gets to that point, because I mean, there's always going to be a group of women who doesn't care about women's rights and think it doesn't affect them just because they want to feel comfortable because of a man around. I don't really understand it. It's like you think about men all the time, and these are the same women. If their daughters come to them and say, "Hey, mommy, you know, daddy touched me in the wrong place, or my stepdad or Mr. So and so touched me in the wrong place," they wouldn't believe her.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it's really sickening to that, and I just can't fathom it. So for me, ladies, it's get to the point where since we're all Black women, I like to believe that since I'm assuming there's all Black women in here, I just think it's get to the point is take some defense lessons and protect yourself because when all this backlash will come after the investigation for Carly, it's going to be to the point that they're not going to take us seriously anymore for protection,
Hmm.
and it's going to be very brutal, and people are going to put more violence on Black women. Doesn't matter, you know. And it's going to say, hey, you lied to us over a man. And at some point, if you have a man on your social media, you might as well just delete the photo and put no men on your social media. Um, but yeah, you know, that's all I have to say. Sorry for going around in circles and stuff.
No, 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 no. I appreciate that. So when we talk about like what to do next, you all know I'm always telling you to have your technical skills, your soft skills, your networks, and your resources. And I rarely harp on the resources, but tonight I am. Um, the best defense is a great offense. And somebody in here said that they're leaving. I think Rose was the one that said that she's leaving the country at some point. You need resources in order to do that. I knew a young woman who went to the Netherlands, and getting an EU passport is not easy. You have to actually, from what I remembered from her, she had to have a business with clients already in order to move there and be a resident there long term. So I would say, get your networks together, get your resources together. You may want to start a business in order to, protect yourself. If you have children, especially if you have female children, girl children, preparing them for this because anything could could happen where you need to, just like an immigrant is running here for freedom, you may need to take your kid, or your kid by that point may be grown, and they may need to run. And the worst thing that they can do is run with no resources. That's how they get caught up in sex trafficking and things like that themselves. So, um, I will read some of your comments here as well. And Rana, did you have anything to say about the DeSantis Florida story, or?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, he's very dangerous. I'm from Florida, so he's very dangerous. So when I saw that, it's just like, thank God I'm not teaching the public school system. Thank God I'm not a student in the public school. And when I mean like K through 12,
Mhm.
thank God I'm in college, and thank God I know my history. But it's pretty much, it's coming like a dictatorship almost. You
Mhm.
understand? Like, you want to erase certain history of it. No, if you're gonna get rid of certain things, if you're gonna get rid of like how slaves were treated, was maltreated, abused, raped, and stuff, it's kind of like, why won't you teach the real thing, you know?
Mhm.
And they're trying to take away of that and trying to make it like, oh, it's so. I think all this stop the woke agenda, it's just like, it's not woke, it's history,
Yeah, it is
so
history.
it's a part of an American history. So and it's not, and that's not the only. Slavery doesn't just happen in United States, it happens in Canada and Central and South America,
Mhm.
so including Mexico. So for me, it's kind of like, so you want to erase history, you're coming just like the dictators who just want to erase everything. You sound just like them. Like, I'm just saying, from an immigrant perspective, you
Mhm.
sound just like the dictators who erase certain things in history. Just saying. And the one, what else is missing? I didn't know that there's like a split between the liberals and the conservatives. Talk about, let's get rid of child trafficking. Like, I just tired of the political theater. It's really like, it's like one party gets in, but one party doesn't get it done. But when the other party gets into power in Congress, they get everything done. And that's really annoying
Yeah.
and frustrating. And as a US voter, it's pretty much, it's like we're pawns to the politicians.
Mhm.
That's it. So in any case, I don't know. Well, I want to say vote, vote, vote. But if I go out and vote, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to vote based on my own self-interest. I'm not going to look at
Mhm.
one party or the other party, because they're both one and the same. They're no different. And what I'm not saying you, but what, or any ladies in here, but I'm saying my fellow Americans don't understand. It's like, they're starting to sound like third world countries type of gridlock type of thing.
Mhm.
Whether they believe it or not, it's started to sound like that way. It's coming to that point. Like, during the years in the past, what, I would say 10 years so far, look how violent politics in America has become. It was never violent.
Mhm.
And it was never violent at all. Like, I remember growing up in this country, it was never violent. It was violent in countries that I used to live in as a child, but in this country, it was never violent until, I'm just really like, wow. And I think from 2000, when Trump ran his presidency, that's where it started to get violent, very violent. But even way before Trump, it was starting to get that. But he just gave a green light for all the violence to come out in politics. So for me, um, yeah, I think if America doesn't, or if our government, and I don't trust my government, well, that's too much. So I'm just spilling too much. But like, if our government does not do anything to stop with the violence, or, if they keep on putting laws to slowly lose our rights, then you know what? Black women in here, we're going to lose. And that's it. And soon we'll be like, I don't know, slowly become second class citizens.
Yeah.
And if we don't do something, or if we don't really level up ourselves and just be strategic and do what we need to get done, because once the crossfire hit, that's it. And you don't want to be the Black woman with the short end of the stick. But yeah, I think I have enough to say.
Yeah. Thank you, Selfish Love, for saying pro-family equals women and children as second-class citizens. It is looking that way. Rana was talking about the incompetence of the Democrats, and I believe that a lot of those Democrats are, well, there's reporting that says that a lot of them get money from the same lobbyists and the same donors that also fund Republicans. I think that there are a lot of these Democrats that secretly believe some of the stuff that's being voted through. They secretly believe in, not having abortion access. Uh, and we're seeing where not having abortion access is like, some woman in Louisiana had a child growing in her with no skull and nobody would give her an abortion. Well, if you don't have the resources to be able to fly to another state and get that taken care of, then what? Right? So I think that some of the incompetence with the Democrats is that they have no interest in protecting some of the rights that we have had. So, and then we're seeing, like I said, some of this stuff go mainstream, and so somebody else said in here that if I was disappointed, that means I wasn't paying attention. I have been paying attention, but I've always separated what is fringe from what is seeping into the mainstream, or what is fringe, but what is seeping into the Supreme Court and the higher levels of power in this country. And this trend that I'm seeing, I have been watching it closely for the past couple of years, but now I'm actually seeing people with real power, with the power of the pen and the power of the nuke, agreeing with this stuff that we're hearing. And do I think it's going to affect me personally? No, because I'm not of childbearing age for a lot of stuff. But if I were a mother, I definitely would be concerned. And then they want you to have more children, and you have people saying, "Hey, we need to have more children. We need to be, procreating and all of this." And then you're like, "For what? For what?" So, I don't see anybody else coming up. So y'all have another 3 minutes to come up. Otherwise, I'm going to, to thank Rana, and we're going to head out. I'm going to look at some of your questions in here. How do we plan for the collapse of our society? I think that you need to have the resources to run if you need to. I'll be honest with you. If we see enough of a groundswell of people like we had in the civil rights movement, then, I'm all for that as well. But you got to be prepared with what do you call it? Protest signs and running shoes right now. You got to be prepared. So, you're saying disconnect for your sanity. Media and social media is not real. I have to. After Sunday night, Sunday night will be really cool because we're doing our tech show. But after that, I think I need to dip out for a week or two. I need to protect my sanity right now. A Patty is saying marriage was good because women didn't have rights. But when you actually look at it, marriage does not benefit most women. Marriage benefits men. Yeah, marriage benefits men, and it benefits children. A good, healthy marriage does benefit children. However, it doesn't benefit a lot of women. It doesn't. But I've been watching a lot of reading a lot of data, watching a lot of people talk about the lack of babies being born, and we understand they mean white babies, right? But the lack of babies being born, and if they don't turn this ship around, there will be forced births. At one point, I thought, oh, they'll probably probably have some lab um, out there where babies are going to be, born that way in test tubes. But now I'm starting to think, no, I think they want women tied to these children. I really do. So um, I'm just paying attention. You're saying here, maybe people are drained because they see things going on in a very dark direction and feel powerless to change it. I'm also disappointed, but not surprised that the planet is dying too. Yeah. Lainey is saying, I understand not wanting to go into the depths of slavery, but completely rebranding it as a positive thing is disgusting. I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, we don't have to have people watching 12 Years a Slave, but we should say, you know what? And people, saying, oh, there were people who were happy being slaves. Well, let's take a step back and really think about that. They probably did the best with the situation and the hand that they were given, but let's not sit here and pretend like our ancestors were happy being slaves. And then I heard some craziness. I might go on the panel with Dana to discuss this, but the men in her chat were saying, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, that Black women are the new face of white supremacy. And I'm like, people are getting online saying all sorts of just craziness right now. All sorts of craziness. All right. Well, I don't see anybody else coming up. Thank you, Rana, for coming up. Thank you. So, ladies, I hope you have a good weekend. I just kind of had to come here and just vent and say that there's just a lot going on. Stack your resources, stack your skills, protect yourself, get your Second Amendment, practice self-defense, all of those things, because the next, I would say, 30 years, probably going to be a bumpy ride. That's my warning for all of you. It's going to be a bumpy ride, and I don't know what it's going to look like and how it's going to look on the other side of this whole thing. But a lot of dangerous thought processes are starting to seep into mainstream. And yeah, somebody also mentioned that Pearl is a tool as well. And I agree with you, and I understand that they needed to put a woman's face onto this rhetoric. My issue is the numbers of men who are sheep who are following this, who are believing this. And now if you have 20% of men who are sexless and haven't had a date, and, so many men who don't have families and don't want families, and they're incels and things like that. I was going to do a show called Men Are Suffering and We Should Care. But this is my warning to you. I know that so many of us are in BWE spaces saying, F these men, F these men. On a personal one-to-one level, if you think that, okay. But as a group, this is going to be dangerous. Ladies, you really, again, I'm just saying it. We should care that so many of these men are incels. We should care that so many of these men are purposeless, because I believe that the blowback is going to come to us, especially if we don't have our resources together and we can't make a move. You're asking me to do that show? Okay, I'll do it. I have to do it at a time when I have my head together. So I think I'm going to take a week off social media and then come back. Go read Octavia Butler's books? Okay. Okay. Men are suffering due to institutional failures, not women, but we definitely need to move quietly. Yeah, you need to move quietly and decisively. Pay attention to it. It's not our fault, but we're getting blamed for it. And as Black women, hearing men say in unison that Black women are the new face of white supremacy, that's putting a target on our backs, especially us as upwardly mobile Black women. We saw what happened with Keke Palmer. We saw what happened with Ebony K. Williams. We fit into those demographics, a lot of us. And we need to have our heads on a swivel. BWE women have been telling us to get armed. It's time, ladies. It's time. And I know that Jason Aldean's music video was a little disturbing, but maybe you move into a small town where people know you and you know them, and you get a new network of people and a new network of neighbors. So with that, thank you so much, Erica. Thank you for wishing that I feel better. I will. I want to wish all of you ladies a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all on Sunday if you're into tech. Brown Skin Girls is coming to talk about should you get a certification or a degree. I think that'll be a great conversation. And then I'll be back when I'm back, when I've kind of got my head on straight, so that we could talk more about money and making money and getting our resources together. So thank you, ladies. Take care. Bye-bye.